so I'm 21 years old. I have 5 siblings. I am number 2. And I am originally from Colorado. My family made Aliyah before we made Aliyah from Florida. We lived in Florida for 1 year before my family decided to move to Israel. So I basically lived in Israel from the age of 3 to 15. And then about 7 years ago, my family relocated to Scottsdale, Arizona. And I was too young to stay in Israel, so I went back with them, graduated high school, and then fastest way to go back to Israel, because that's where my heart was. That's where I found myself on a gap year.
Okay, why did you join the Army?
So my brother drafted about 8 months before I did, and he was always an inspiration to me. Also, my gap program had a... Oh yeah, that's my brother. That's when I swore into the Army, 3 months of my service. And yeah, so my program had a bunch of girls who were going to the Army, and I never grew up with like siblings aside from my brother or grandparents who went to the Army, so it was like a whole new world to me. And I'm an all or nothing person, so the second I was like, I'm gonna do this, I was like, I'm going all the way. And so I found myself drafting into the Combat Search and Rescue Unit.
Okay, so tell us about the Search and Rescue Unit.
So I drafted in August of 2022. I was 19 at the time, right before my 20th birthday, or right before my 19th birthday, I'm sorry. And I did 6 months of training, which was combat training and search and rescue training. And then after that, I went to the area, which is where I did guard duty for about 4 months. And I felt like I needed more than that. So with God's help, somehow someone offered me to try out for the Elite Search and Rescue Unit. I happened to have strep the week of tryouts, but I knew that it was like my only chance to get in. So I was on antibiotics, but I was like, I'm doing this anyways. All our gear and everything in our cars, and they sent us originally to Tel Aviv because that's where the biggest threat was, from Lebanon and from Gaza. After that, we were sent to Jerusalem. Also, we were following missiles where they fell and kind of got in our way through there. Thank God there was nothing too crazy. This picture specifically, I'll just say, part of our training was identifying bodies based off smell and looks. That bag of stuff is a smell you'll can't forget. It's disgusting. And that is something that we had to experience basically during the war.
Yeah. You were up north.
Yes. So then we were sent up north after. No, we were in Be'eri. So once we were in Tel Aviv and Jerusalem, we were sent to Be'eri, which was one of the kibbutzim down south. Zucker, which they're the people who kind of take out the bodies that are able to identify. They took out all the visible bodies, but then there were bodies that were harder to identify. And part of my training was being able to identify bodies that you can't really see. So these are some pictures that me and my team were sent down there. This specifically, I'm not going to give too much detail, but that is a body that we found, and thank God it actually happens to be a terrorist body, so thank God. But yeah, it's okay. But we basically had to identify things that you can't really imagine, like the destruction of that area. So after Be'eri, we were sent up north because Lebanon was still a threat, and we had to help a lot of families who had to leave their homes because of the threat. So we were sent up north, and all the big families and older people who couldn't leave their houses on their own, we were in charge of helping them move to a more central area. So this is in Zikim actually. This is on the border, so I'll just give a small story. Sorry, I'm going back and forth. But this is in Zikim.
I put the pictures in the wrong order.
Okay, but this is in Zikim. Zikim was my basic training base that I did when I barely knew how to use a gun. And this was a base that was attacked on the 7th of October. I had 7 friends who happened to be commanders at the time for new soldiers that got killed on this day. This is me in basic training when I was young. They had the most beautiful sunsets there.
It's dark.
It's dark, but I'm there. But
undercover.
exactly. But this is where I did basic training, and to imagine that literally a year and 2 months after that, like, was crazy. But this is Akeem, and this is where we were sent in from Gaza after. But I'll head back up to my up north situation, so I know this is a terrible picture. But this boy's voice was in my head from the beginning of my service. So I was sleeping on a basketball court up north, in between duties of helping families leave their homes, and I really needed a coffee. And so I went into the hotel of where we've helped these families move to, and I was sitting in the lobby with a coffee, and this little boy jumps on my lap, and no idea who I was. And he just looks at me, and he starts telling me how his dad has the same gun as me, and how he has the same uniform as me, and he just starts talking to me like we've been friends forever. He's 4 years old. And then his mom comes and he's like, come on, like it's ready to go, we're ready to check into our room. And he's like, no, I'm not leaving her. And he just hung out with me for like 15 minutes. And then once his mom finally convinced him to leave, she was like, his last words were, Mom, she's a hero like my dad. And that stuck with me, and I was like, this is my duty, you know, like everyone can doing anything in the army, whether it's working at a computer desk, driving the cars, going into Gaza, fighting, whatever, but they don't know. They see you in uniform, they see you with a gun, they see you without a gun, and you're their hero. So that really stuck with me. So then after we did our job up north, we got intel on soldiers who were going into really dangerous areas in Gaza, and they needed people to be on call in case like the building they were going into was booby trapped or whatever, to make sure that we can rescue them in case. So we were sent to the border. They didn't put us in yet. This is me with my friend, she was a paramedic. And we stood there. We were there for about, I think, almost a month of just waiting to be called in. At that time, my mom came on an Nefesh trip that was paid for, and I got to see her. And we just trained and trained and trained. And then one day, there was a missile that hit a B-9, which is a type of tank. And one of the reservist soldiers was stuck inside, and he got burnt alive. And our job was to pull his body out, because in the elite unit we're trained with machines that could break through tanks.
Like that.
Yeah.
They carry on their backs.
We had to carry a lot of stuff on our backs. But so we were sent in. Within 5 minutes, we're in the Hummers and we're on our way into Gaza. We rescued the soldier's body, and then they kept us in Gaza for a month, and we were on call. So these are just a bunch of pictures of me and my friends, and this was our bathroom. Yeah, it was a bucket, and yeah.
A bucket and a drink.
Yeah, exactly. So that was basically my job in Gaza, and we stayed there for a month. After that, my mom actually decided to pull my siblings out of school and come volunteer in Israel for 3 months. So this is my family, and we were picking fruit on the border in the south, or I was donating blood every 3 months to soldiers that needed it for instance. And yeah, so this is my family, and having them there was honestly super scary, because part of me felt safer that they were here and not in the hell of it in Israel. But the truth is there's something about Israel that you feel like super safe, even though it doesn't look safe from the outside. The news is sometimes scarier than the reality.
When Lyla and I sat, there was a lot of information that she said, I'm allowed to share, I'm not allowed to share, and she's less shy than I am. Yeah, you're doing amazing. But I did ask her, I said, Lyla, just what should our takeaway be? When you look at an audience of 100 women living in America, and you're an American, and you're also an Israeli, and you literally sacrificed your life, willing to sacrifice your life, to protect the borders of Israel. What's our takeaway?
So I realized when I was in the army that at the time my purpose was to be there and do my job there. I've been back in America now for about 6 months since I got out. And I remember 6 months ago, my brother's younger friend who wanted to draft was like, would you do it again? And 6 months ago, I was like, of course. Like, if they call me for reserves, I got my boots in my closet, like, I'm back. And it's been 6 months, and I'm in college. I'm working
She has a
part-time.
great job working in our preschool.
I'm planning a wedding, and I was like, I cannot go back. I think that everyone has their job and their goals, and God has a plan for everyone at their time. And I've done my part in Israel, and it's my time to, I guess, tell my story, and just like everyone has their part wherever they are in the world, you know? Especially with the anti-Semitism, like I would be more scared to be on a college campus than I would be fighting in Gaza to a certain extent. Like it's beyond. And yeah, so that would be my take. Like really, like everyone is where they're supposed to be, and your job is to just be a proud Jew and show that to the rest of the world.
Anyway, so when somebody heard that Lyla was going to be here today, we got a very special gift to give you. And I didn't repackage it because I think the beauty is in what it is. So this woman had received $1 from the Lubavitcher Rebbe many, many years ago as a blessing for safety and protection and blessings. And they asked us to give it to you, Lyla. This is very precious. People don't give away their Rebbe dollars. So they asked me just to mention 2 names who it's in honor of, which is Yosef Yitzchak Ben Tamar and Bracha Simcha Bat Malka. But it is a gift to you to hold dear to wherever your next journey takes you, and as gratitude for what you have given to the entire Am Yisrael. So I present you in its pure form. Oh, you want to